Have you ever pictured a car powered by an aircraft engine? Now pause and imagine it again, because this goes far beyond ordinary speed. This is raw, uncontrollable force, the kind of power never meant for the road. Engines built for the skies, ripped from flying machines and mounted onto four wheels, giving birth to some of the wildest creations ever imagined. We're talking about monstrous power plants larger than heavy industrial equipment, machines so loud and violent they don't just move, they make the ground tremble. But what drives someone to build something like this? Is it brilliant engineering, complete madness, or an unstoppable obsession with speed? Today, you're about to dive into history and explore machines that ignored every rule and pushed the limits of what a car could be. Get ready to witness some of the craziest vehicles ever built with aircraft engines, and make sure you stay until the end because the final one feels almost impossible to believe.
Sunbeam 1000 HP. The Sunbeam 1000 HP was built in 1927 in the United Kingdom with a clear goal to become the fastest car in the world. And to achieve that, engineers didn't hesitate. Instead of one, they installed two aircraft engines in the same machine. Each engine was a Sunbeam Matabele V12 with 22.4 liters originally developed for military aircraft during World War I. That means two real aircraft engines working together, totaling an incredible 44.8 liters of displacement. In total, that's 24 cylinders producing around 1,000 horsepower. For its time, this wasn't just extreme, it was completely beyond anything that existed. Acceleration was already brutal for such a massive machine, with 0 to 100 kilometers per hour happening in just a few seconds, considering the era. But the real highlight was top speed, exceeding 320 kilometers per hour and breaking world records. Fuel consumption was extreme, like running two airplanes at once. Efficiencies simply didn't matter here. The manual transmission was basic and had to handle enormous force, while rear-wheel drive made it even more challenging. The suspension was rigid, focused purely on keeping the car stable in a straight line. Visually, the Sunbeam 1000 HP was gigantic. Two engines mounted in sequence, one behind the other, creating an intimidating presence. The sound was deafening, like two aircraft accelerating at the same time. In practice, it was built exclusively for speed records, achieving its goal by becoming the first car to exceed 200 miles per hour. It became an instant legend, representing a moment when engineering simply ignored limits. And here's an impressive detail. The two engines had to be manually synchronized, making it even more complex to operate. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever seen anything at this level? If this kind of insane engineering impresses you, make sure to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell because there's a lot more madness coming. And if you think this is already too much, the next one proves this idea didn't stay in the past. It came back even more extreme.
Bluebird CN7. The Bluebird CN7 was developed in the early 1960s in the United Kingdom by Donald Campbell, one of the biggest names in the history of speed. Unlike the others, this one wasn't adapted later. It was built from the ground up with a clear purpose, to use aviation technology to break land speed records. Instead of a conventional engine, it used a Bristol Siddeley Proteus turbine, the same type used in aircraft and military vessels at the time. In other words, this wasn't an adapted engine, but a true aircraft propulsion system brought directly to the ground. This turbine produced the equivalent of over 4,000 horsepower. The way it delivers power is completely different, with smooth and continuous acceleration, just like an airplane gaining speed on a runway. The 0 to 100 kilometers per hour happens in just a few seconds, but that's almost irrelevant because the real focus is top speed. The Bluebird surpassed 640 kilometers per hour, entering a territory that almost no conventional car can reach. Fuel consumption was extremely high, comparable to an aircraft, burning massive amounts of fuel in just minutes. There's no traditional transmission. Power is delivered directly, and the car uses all-wheel drive to maintain stability at extreme speeds. The suspension was especially designed to handle uneven desert surfaces, keeping control even above 500 kilometers. Visually, it looks more like a rocket than a car. Fully enclosed with a sealed cockpit and aerodynamic lines, the sound is a high-pitched continuous turbine roar, completely different from any automotive engine. In practice, it was used in places like Lake Eyre in Australia, where it set land speed records. This project solved one of the biggest engineering challenges, maintaining stability at extreme speeds using aviation technology outside the air. During testing, it suffered a massive crash at over 500 kilometers, and even so, it was rebuilt and came back to break records. And if that already feels like something from another world, the next one doubles the madness with not one, but two aircraft engines working together.
Cunningham C4R. The Cunningham C4R was introduced in 1952 in the United States, created by Briggs Cunningham during a time when automotive engineering was beginning to absorb direct influence from aviation in the post-World War II era. Under the hood, it featured a Chrysler V8 engine with 331 cubic inches, about 5.4 liters, producing around 300 horsepower. It was an 8-cylinder engine that already used hemispherical combustion chambers, a design widely used in aircraft engines to improve efficiency and fuel burn at high RPM. In practice, this resulted in a more consistent and reliable power delivery, something essential both in aviation and endurance racing. It could go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in about 6 seconds and reach a top speed close to 250 kilometers per hour. Very strong numbers for its time. Fuel consumption was high, averaging around 2 to 3 kilometers per liter under heavy use, reflecting that same performance-first mindset seen in aircraft engines. The 4-speed manual transmission had direct engagement and well-balanced gear ratios to keep the engine in its power band. Independent suspension on all 4 wheels provided above-average stability, while rear-wheel drive demanded full control from the driver. Visually, it was low, wide, and shaped with lines that resembled aircraft fuselages. The engine sound was deep and continuous, giving the sensation of something ready to take off at any moment. In real use, it competed in endurance races like Le Mans, where mechanical reliability was just as important as speed. And that's exactly where its aviation influence stood out. Over time, it became a symbol of an era when cars began inheriting solutions from the world of aviation. And here's an interesting detail. Many of the engineers involved had experience with military aircraft, which directly influenced how the car behaved at high speeds. And if this already surprised you with its power, the next one takes it further with an engine that literally came out of the sky and onto the road. Napier Railton. The Napier Railton was built in 1933 in the United Kingdom, designed by Reed Railton with one clear goal: to break speed records. And here there's no light adaptation or indirect influence. This car was fitted with the actual heart of a World War I aircraft. Under its massive hood sat the Napier Lion engine, a 24-liter W12, originally used in British aircraft like the Supermarine Sea Lion, an engine designed to deliver constant power in flight. But on the ground, it became something completely outrageous. We're talking about a 12-cylinder engine producing around 580 horsepower with extremely high torque. In practice, it pushed the car forward with relentless force, almost effortlessly. The 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time was around 8 seconds, while top speed exceeded 270 kilometers per hour, an incredible feat for the 1930s. Fuel consumption was extreme, often dropping below 1 kilometer per liter under heavy use, behaving far more like an aircraft than a car. The 3-speed manual transmission had long gear ratios, taking full advantage of the engine's massive torque. The suspension was simple, with a solid axle, and rear-wheel drive made it especially demanding at high speeds. Visually, it was an intimidating machine. The hood seemed endless, almost entirely dominated by the engine. The sound was deafening, unmistakably similar to an aircraft accelerating on the ground. In practice, it dominated tracks like Brooklands, breaking records and proving that aircraft engines could rule the asphalt. Over time, it became a legend that still exists today. And here's something interesting. The driver had to sit slightly off to the side because the engine took up almost all the space in the car. If you thought this was extreme, the next one takes things even further with a configuration that feels almost unreal.